This microphone, the Sennheiser XS1, is being touted as a beginner's microphone, or as they put it, for people getting started. Meaning it drops into contention against some pretty popular mics, namely the Behringer XM8500. So then, for just $40, is this a mic you should be aiming to pick up? Let's find out. Just so you know, I'm leaving all the plosives and any handling in the video so you can hear it. This is at 45 degrees from my mouth at about 3 inches away. Just an FYI. Now, when you look at this mic, it's very much within the Sennheiser family on looks alone. Everything you would expect from a decent handheld here. There's no give in the grill, and it does have a decent heft. Now, when you look at the advertised specs, apparently it says it's the same weight as the E835, but my very technical test says something different. The switch is an added bonus here as well, and I can say it is very smooth. Well, at the same time, it doesn't stick out, so I can't imagine it's going to be easy to accidentally throw it. All in all, it's a nicely made product. Now, this is generally where you start to see the drawbacks of getting an affordable microphone. Usually the specs are lacking. But not really with this microphone. You get the two key specs that really matter here. The frequency range is 55 Hz to 16 kHz, and the sensitivity is 1.8 millivolts per Pascal, which translates to neg 55 dBV per Pascal. Now, if you need that broken down a bit more, it's around the same sensitivity as the SM58, but it's just a touch more sensitive. However, it's nowhere near as sensitive as the E835, which weighs in at neg 51 dBV per Pascal. Is it important though? Not really. I mean, especially these days, that is, as long as you aren't rocking an interface from 2015, really anything with 60 plus dB of gain, you're going to be fine. So this is the third time I've shot these tests, and most of it comes down to the handling noise of this microphone, so I'm going to be really careful. But I'm also doing it handheld just because I want people to see how bad it is. And a lot of it has to do with this cable, right? Not a wireless mic. I'm going to try to get that up there so we can have a better experience with it. Okay, so let's talk about the off-axis rejection of the XS1. And you'll notice as I go off-axis, you can hear it drop off actually pretty quick and moving around to the side of the microphone here. And we're going to move back and you're going to hear it kick in pretty quick again right about there. So now we're going to compare that to the SM58. As we move around the SM58, we're going to drop off. It's more of a gradual drop off as we go around towards the back of the microphone. And we're going to move back close to the front of the capsule. Again, it's a bit more of a smooth transition off axis. Now let's do a plosive rejection test of the XS1. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Now we're going to compare that to the SM58. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Now let's do the proximity effect with the XS1. This is me speaking about 4 inches off the front of the capsule. Now I'm directly on top of the capsule. 4 inches, directly on top. And for comparison, the SM58. This is me speaking into the front of the SM58 from about 4 inches away. Now I'm directly on top of the capsule. 4 inches, directly on top. Now let's take a look at the handling noise of the XS1. And I'm just going to gently move it back and forth between my hands. And you're going to hear it's just gently going back and forth. This is the first handling noise test. Now we're going to move over to the SM58. Now we have the SM58 and we're going to be gently moving it back and forth between our hands. And you should notice a heck of a difference. This SM58, they're well known for having really good rejection of handling noise. So as you go back and forth, you can hear it. It's not as bad. Now we're going to get a little rougher with this microphone, the XS1. And you're going to notice as I move it between my hands, this is what it sounds like. Now, I will say there is one benefit to this, and that is that it's mostly a low-end rumble. So a high-pass filter would probably clear a lot of this up, and I'll test some of that out right now. And now a little more aggressive with the SM58, and you're going to hear this. And you know, one of the things about being in a live setting, handling noise is one of the first things that really kicks off a lot of feedback. And that low rumble is one of those things. It just creates a loop so quickly. Okay, now we have the Sennheiser XS1 up against the SEV2. This is kind of a battle of the switched cheap microphones. Which one do you like as I go between them? Again, this is the Sennheiser XS1, and this is the SEV2. This one has some handling noise issues. This one has worse handling noise issues. Which one do you like on sound alone, though? All right, now we have a super cheap microphone with the Behringer XM8500 up against the Sennheiser XS1. Which one do you like as I go between these two? This one obviously is extremely cheap, and this one is actually still pretty cheap. I think it's at about the $40 to $50 mark. I'll have the prices up here somewhere, I don't know. And this is what it sounds like as I go between them. Which one do you like? Being the Sennheiser XS1 and the Behringer XM8500. And now we get to the unfair battle. This is the Sennheiser XS1 and this is the Shure SM58. This one has legendary status. This one, well, I mean, it has handling noise. Which one do you like as I go between them? This one being the Sennheiser XS1 and this being the Shure SM58. I'm bad with names, okay? And finally, we have the big test. This is the Sennheiser XS1 versus the Sennheiser E835. My goodness, all the names that I'm going through in my head. What do you think as I go between these? Can you hear the familial resemblance between these microphones? This one being, of course, the Sennheiser XS1, and this one, of course, being the Sennheiser E835. So the biggest pro for this microphone is the price, obviously, and credit where credit is due. Sennheiser steps out of the marketing BS to clearly describe the market position of this microphone. It's a mic for people that are just starting out. That is bonus marks for sure. And it doesn't really hurt that it maintains that Sennheiser sound that you can hear from the E835. Don't get me wrong, they don't sound the same, but you can definitely tell they're in the same family at least. Now, my first concern with this microphone is the off-axis rejection. It's pretty severe when you step off even a little. It's not the worst thing in the world, but for a microphone that is being sold as a beginner's mic, well, that might present a bit of a challenge as beginners tend to not have the best microphone etiquette. Otherwise, the proximity wasn't bad. The plosives, they're a bit rough, but I'm also a bit plosive-y. Nothing really blowing your mind on this, but also no real red flags either. Even the switch is pretty decent at not causing a lot of noise. However, that handling noise is a big oof. Now, I need to remind you, in a live setting, one of the easiest ways to get feedback is with handling noise. And the handling noise on this mic is almost as bad as the SEV2. So, much like that microphone, this is either not a handheld mic or perhaps it's a cheap instrument mic maybe. But if you can't keep your hands to yourself, I'd probably say you need to pass on this mic. However, I need to be honest with you. If you're looking for a decent handheld mic that isn't going to cause you a ton of headaches, just save up some money and get an SM58. Or if you're stuck on getting a Sennheiser, well, the E835 is the same price as the SM58. So, sure, getting a bunch of mics that you aren't too worried about the fate of those said mics, go ahead. But if you're setting up a decent kit for live work, sure, go ahead, but you might find yourself spending more money to replace them sooner rather than later. Let me know what you thought about the sound of this mic, though. Cheers, guys, and thanks for watching.